I'm just gonna start recording now. I have an idea what to talk about, but I'm just gonna click start and then I'll see what my brain wants to share. So I think I'm gonna call this. My brain just froze. Give me a second. What it means finding the one. So I've been working on like these like stories or like polyamory structure stories of like my OCs, and I would go on Claude and be like, okay, here's the context, here's who I am, make like an alternate version of myself, throw them in a random scenario, and like stress test some scenarios. And then for like the people, for the partners, what I would do is like, okay, because I don't really watch shows like that. I would go on like anime and be like, okay, what's like a character design that I like that looks cool, that sparks something in me consistently. Not something that's like, oh, I see that type of person. What's something that keeps drawing me back to them? And so I was like, okay, this is the scenario. And then I'll kind of like, even though I can write the story myself, I feel like having Claude write it for me and just generate a whole unique scenario, telling it to go unique and creative, kind of gives me like ideas to bounce off of, because I like bouncing off ideas, seeing what other people's takes are, and then I kind of compare it to like what I would. And I essentially, for the sequels, what I would do is I'll take the story, put it like in a Google Doc. It's usually around like 30 pages. Then I'll like do a second sequel and be like, hey, this was really good. Uh, this is what my idea, how I feel those things should work. And recently, I made a story about a version of me becoming more proactive. So currently, I'm still like financially kind of like tying everything. Just got fired from my job, looking for other jobs, trying to start a business. I honestly have too much on my plate, and I'm kind of like holding back on purpose. Like instead of actually like focusing on the business, I'm just like eating like Takis and chilling. Which that's not the point. But hold on, pause. My brain just froze again. But I created like the prompt and like the sequel. Like, okay, this is what I want the next chapter to look like. So in like the story, it's kind of like a version of me that's like I've already gone through all this like financial hurdles and moved out 6 months later. And the premise of the story is he has like $20,000 saved. And what he does is he kind of has like a document of like, okay, this is like 25 character archetypes that I would like. I'll name just a couple just to show off what I mean. So like physical descriptions first: blonde, blue eyes, simple. Someone that has like a smile that just radiates the world. Like you see it and all of your problems disappear. Very warm, very friendly, and someone that you just want to see her happy and succeed. Next entry will be like blue hair, blue eyes, someone like the ocean, someone that's very strong, works very hard, surrounded by the wrong environment, isolated, and she's genuinely incredible. The third one would be like white hair, gray eyes. She's very great at logic, but she's like overqualified for a lot of her jobs, and she wants to seek out something real and build something, but just like stuck in like the job economy and just like stuck there. And then the fourth one is like pink hair dyed, eyes contact. A little bit unhinged, crazy content streamer, but like unhinged. but deep down, she's very sweet, very genuine, and very beautiful. So in the story, I was like, okay, these are like four types of like people that kind of I'm looking for. Now I'll tell Claude, that's the cast of the story. That's the cast of the story. And then what I would do is like, okay, how I'm gonna kind of structure this is I need to figure out a location where each of them will be. Now I could just say Nashville and call it a day, but I'm like, I also want to make it realistic. So I did the most logical thing. I used a random wheel of 50 states. I was like, I'm just gonna click a random wheel and see what it does because wheels are fun. Click the wheel, and I think one of it landed on Knoxville. Click the wheel again. The second was like North Dakota, and third was like Virginia. And I'm like, I know nothing about Virginia. I thought it was just like rocks and stuff like that. And then the fourth one was like Vermont. So then I kind of like, but what I did is before I started the actual story, because I was scared since I was using AI to help like be the pen and write my story, I was scared I was gonna lose the entire thing. Like, imagine you pour your heart and soul typing like 2 pages, like or like 500 words to Claude about what you want for your story to kind of stress test it to guide you in real life. And then the first chapter, obviously, you don't want to overload the audience, but by having like a my vision document, I was able to kind of preserve most of it. And my style is I provide like the foundation, like a lot of important parts have like support foundations for each one, and every design is kind of like meticulous. But once that's kind of like preserved somewhere, you can just kind of go free and go wild essentially. So, what's my camera's like that? I don't know. I'll fix that later. My brain just froze. So then I'll kind of like I made a document called like my vision, and then what I would do is like, okay, I have my vision. I have the chapter one. Chapter one is like setting up the cast of the entire story, giving them like unique names. And then I will be like, okay, the reason why I have this set up that's kind of like ambiguous focuses on setting things up. It's so that, like, let's say 3 months later, things happen and I want to change things up or or like maybe modify some details of how they meet or like do some shenanigans. I can have like a backup document. That way, it just gives me more freedom to kind of like experiment with like different partners or different combinations or like different scenarios. Because it's also one of those things where once I start pursuing my dream in real life, it's kind of like I'm planning to be like loyal 100% to whatever partner I find. And there's like no like go back button. And I understand this relationship model is kind of very intense because you're asking like multiple people to love each other to be like load bearing walls and stuff. And then I kept writing the story, and how it worked was I would the character would a version of me, Mossad. He would drive to Knoxville. He went to Knoxville like, okay, I'm just gonna be present in a coffee shop. I just saw this picture online of like a business lady who looked pretty, and I'm just gonna take a risk and just go to Knoxville. So there's a chance he just goes to a coffee shop, nothing happens, and he just goes back home wasted like a lot of gas. But he does it anyways, and then the person walks in and he sees her, and I'm reading the story. And I'm like, what would I do? I'll be like, now should I approach her? But like, how do I just go up to her? Like, how am I gonna be like? I'm gonna walk up there and be like, hey, excuse me, I know this is random. I'm trying to build a family, 3 to 8 beautiful wives who love each other. Name's Masad. Coffee. My brain froze. I'm still kind of working on like my stuff and all of that, figuring out just learning how like kind of like learning how to kind of like I wouldn't say like manage what I say, but kind of like dial it back a bit because while I like having energy like being blunt, I would also kind of like learn how to be subtle or like say it but like say enough. It's a hard skill. But anyways, he went up there, approached her. She said that's a scripted line, and he says actually it's a drafted line. And she's like, "What's the difference?" A drafted line is something like you improvise as you are in a moment. She tells him to sit down, and like kind of like goes on. Basically, they meet each other, and he just be honest, transparent, just tells him everything, and tells him that I'm going to North Dakota next. Then I'm going to Virginia, even though I don't think that place is real. Don't tell anybody from Virginia that. And then Vermont's later in the story, and then she's like, she says she'll think about it, but got to get exchanges contact and it's like keeps up to date with it. Then he goes to North Dakota, meets like a college student. He basically found her like on X, made a post. He commented like saying, "Believe in yourself, don't give up," and that's something simple like that. Most people never hear that. It's like one of those simple things that like I recently not taken for granted. Small words of encouragement are everything. As someone that's kind of like been isolated from like after graduating college, focusing on like the terrible job market, and just kind of like figuring out how to like be an adult and like still pursue my ambitious dreams is like despite what people tell me to do. Oh, brain unfreeze. I gotta pause the recording again. Holy. As someone that's kind of like figuring things out, being told like encouragement, like that's genuine, and that's like you're doing your best. Keep doing it. Don't listen to what other people are telling you, and just hearing then a comment full of haters because you never know. It is possible for there to be people to be in an environment where there's no positive support at all. I've been in it. I've been in an environment in college where people tell me to get luck with everything, you got this. But the moment I graduated, it felt like everything just disappeared, like gone, erased. Like me even thinking about the encouragement in college was like a pipe dream. And it's crazy because I just graduated recently, but part of me is kind of like starting to hesitate to believe that. So then I told like the blue hair person in the story, her name is Lexa, and then he met her, and he basically went to a restaurant, a ramen restaurant, took a gamble and hoped she would be there, and then he wore like the Hawaiian shirt from his like profile that he like responded on accident. Talked about chicken broth for like 8 minutes because he was curious on like what it was about. She was able to like she actually approached him, which was like a very shocker because I'm like I was expecting like I would have to like like go up to be like, hey, excuse me, explain everything, but she kind of like already like heard of me because of that tweet, and then we had a conversation, and then just honest told her what the plan was, the structure, and don't she'll think about it, and then I went to Virginia, even though that place I have no idea what it looks like. Took a flight to Virginia, like one of those cheap ones from like Nashville all the way to Virginia, and he basically did like a long distance thing. He met like this beautiful blonde lady named Sora, all about like freedom and stuff like that. Who's like used to be like the biggest sister in her family with a bunch of like siblings. She has like a stepmom that has like complicated history. Her dad is in debt trying to pay it off. And essentially, she loves women and had like a relationship with one when she was like an adult. But then eventually, but she kept the person she dated, Emma, kept being like, distant. So eventually, Emma broke up for a mysterious reason, and I felt like a mysterious hole in her heart just kind of like disappeared, just kind of like appeared, and she just kind of became more cold, stoic. And then I came into the town, just went to some random place. I don't even remember what the story made me do. It made me go somewhere. I think a restaurant. I think coffee shops, which I might have to start going to coffee shops. Or it has too much money though. But coffee. So he goes to a coffee shop, just drinks coffee casually, and then just based on like vibes alone, she could already tell like I wasn't from Virginia and all that. And then all I was doing in that coffee shop for 4 hours was reading my book, chilling, using my phone, getting ready to head out. And she was just there observing like how it's like sometimes don't even go to a place to like approach somebody. Maybe that's like the side objective. Maybe like you can approach them like if you know someone that's like a that will be your partner that you know for sure, you can take the risk. But what I've learned from these stories that just go to an environment you like, be creative, figure out an activity to do that you actually like doing. Like a coffee shop, I don't know what I'm gonna do in a coffee shop, but like I feel like maybe like drawing something, reading a book. What book would I read about? Maybe something business, but like maybe have multiple books. Just kind of like find like smart ways, small ways to be creative, and you will get noticed. And also be intent. I feel like also being intentional on what you want is very important. Like I feel like most people actually are like very like genuine when they first start talking to you. Like I think most when I discovered is most people are really genuine when the first like conversation, but after like they talk to you for a bit is when they can kind of like figure if then they kind of like make a decision like okay to dial it back to put more walls there, but usually people are kind of open depending on the moment. And then after they hear like someone talk or say some certain keywords, they kind of like put it back. So I feel like being intentional about like what you want in a relationship or like what you want when you're dating and all that stuff, or like or just being like telling, being honest and like saying, hey, I'm doing living in a moment. This is something I also want. Kind of helps like build trust and like also what it does, it prevents like a lot of issues that a lot of relationships suffer from, which is like miscommunication, toxic fights, things going out of the control, small moments, and no one is like perfect. But I feel like the first step of like that is letting the other partner know that you're not perfect. Is maybe something small like that, but I feel like just being genuine about it, how you're feeling, goes like a long way. So then he like talked to her, and then eventually he spent there for a week getting to know like her sibling Marco, who was like talking about Beatles is the most important thing in the universe and islands. And then he went to go back, but then before he went, she saw how like just present he was, and even though he had like a plan, he just lived in the moment and decided. And she was honest, told him that she likes women, and he's like, I can be a friend and you can date her and all that if that's what you want. And she's like, no, if I'm doing this, I'm doing it all the way. So essentially, it's like a long distance, like poly relationship thing where everyone hopefully dates each other. And one thing I kind of realized about that structure, as like the story gone on, he kind of like developed bonds with the white hair, gray haired chick. I always call her Aisha. The blue hair one, Lexa, the college student from North Dakota, and then Sora, blonde, blue hair, Virginia. I'm saying like the physical descriptions because I like visualizing my stuff. Which I should probably like figure out different phrasing for all that, but yeah. And and one thing I kind of discovered for like the first 2 months, it went really well. I mean, it was like a lot of energy. It required me being like stable, having to like constantly drive to Knoxville, have special days, like spent Thursdays with her just chilling, talking about the framework, building up the structure, going to like, North Dakota dorm rooms, listening to her work on like the aria, her songs, and then going to Virginia, and then it's like discovering like apparently like the reason why her mom left them was actually because she found someone else and didn't know how to tell the dad. So she framed like she basically came up with this whole like elaborate scheme to kind of to basically divorce him and give him in debt and all that. And then basically just had a conversation with them, and kind of like snapped into reality, and they were able to resolve it just like that, just by being present and giving everyone like space to like breathe and all that. And then eventually she says she wants in, she wants to meet Lexa, and it was just one of those things where it's like as things kept developing, she basically wanted to like the goal to kind of create like a kitchen, so she kind of moved to like Nashville with him. So then it's like it became more real, like just 2 months of like building connections, FaceTiming. They all text each other, getting to know each other subtly, and just like visiting each other. And I feel like that distance actually kind of works with the polyamory structure in mind. So I feel like polyamory is, if done right, it's really incredible and can be really romantic. But I feel like the biggest problem with polyamory, kind of the hot take, but I feel like most people who can't do fail in polyamory probably would also fail in monogamy. But because I feel like with polyamory, because there's multiple personalities and there's multiple like important people or like different, there's like power dynamics in place that people take advantage of, or like it can become like very toxic with miscommunication, or it's like people are just kind of like fucking around doing it because they're horny and not actually because they want a connection. And there's just like a lot of like different like things people are on different pages, and also like there might be like some like toxicity there that people discover faster in polyamory, while monogamy it's easier to kind of like hide because it's just you is one on one. It's kind of very easy if like one person has like, a lot of power, another person's kind of scared to leave, which is kind of how like my like parents, former parents, were on. But that's another story for like another time. I kind of like still figuring out the structure, but talking a lot and all this stuff. But I'm gonna figure it out. I'm winging this, but I'm gonna do this. And even if one person out there likes it, hopefully background noise or something, or I don't know. But I feel like there's kind of like a the I feel like Palm is very difficult, and I feel like in this story, I kind of like understood what I felt like the true design of what it was like built for in a way, because like all of them like kind of like being like a family, uh, having like bonds with each other, eventually maybe even loving each other, and it just feels all interconnected. Everyone just like knows about each other, transparent about each other, genuine with each other, and it just goes to show like what like the right people, the flow seems like naturally. However, I feel like the reason how I got there is because I kind of like help with the prompting and help with the foundation. The foundation is kind of like something I spent like the past like 10 months, 11 months making like these stories, failing miserably, seeing different scenarios. Like one of my first like stress test like stories I made, I didn't even know how to use Claude. I just did it. I was like, okay, let's do it. And there was like, it got like, there was like political issues, people talking about relationship going public, different like formats. My character kept like getting like misunderstood by the AI, and then like different like other versions of the characters I kind of like use like Sora, Aisha, Alexa acted the way that I felt like I was out of character. And then I was like, all these scenarios, all the craziness, all the fights. And I'm like, and then I kind of like learned from each of these stories. And now I was able to make this one where everything just feels like seamless. Everything just feels right. And then I added a new character, Goki. Her design is basically based on like female Goku Black, pink hair, red eyes. I'll tell you about that story another time. But essentially, she was like from Vermont, like a streamer doing like voice acting, and then Aisha had like kind of like a conversation looking for someone like her on Twitch, figuring it out. They had like a long conversation, and she kind of had like a genuine laugh that like brought something to the table. So then somehow over a night, she convinced her to fly down from Vermont to Tennessee the next day, or a couple days to meet them. And she was expecting something different, but everyone just kind of like was in an apartment just chilling, doing their thing. And then when I was reading it, I'm like, she feels like part of it. And like I had all these like backup structures, all these extra scenarios of like, what if things happen? What if this happens? What if this happens? And then all of it was just kind of like not needed. I'm like, this feels right. And I'm like, dang. And then I'm like, and then I look at like anime and like look for like stories kind of similar to mine. Then I realize I can't find stuff like that because usually the generic harem anime is just like one guy, everyone fights each other, and it's like not real like. It's there for like drama and stuff like that, which I get it. You gotta make money, gotta make a story. If everyone just likes each other, that's like kind of hard to write or like difficult to handle. But I feel like handling the complex, deep stuff like that is very challenging as well. And I think we're gonna title the video called like the right way. Dot dot dot. I'm still kind of workshopping all this stuff, and that's just kind of like something like I've been working on. And honestly, after seeing that scenario, I was kind of like deciding where I'm like, should I just do the safe thing and just stick to like monogamy, because that would be easier and like less explaining to other people. But like in this story, I feel like it just came natural, and like a lot of the drama and BS that I have to deal with other scenarios just was not present. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. And this is kind of like a gambit for me because I'm like, okay, because once I share this video, share stories and all that, and people like get invested and stuff like that, I have so many stories that I've been working on. Like at work, I will literally come up with like Netflix level like scripts or movies or like episode stuff because I was bored, just like thinking about like the kitchen, people getting each other's ways, just laying on a couch, just like being like a family like that. And I'm like, damn. Then I wake up the next morning and I'm like, fuck. I wake up the next morning and I'm like, Takis right here, cola right here, Capricorn, not Capricorn, whatever this is called. Get my sleep mask and I'm like, I'll be like this. I'm like, oh, what? Oh, it was just a dream. It was just okay. Well, back to square one. Well, I'll eventually like start pursuing it. I'm not sure how I'm kind of gonna. Well, this video is already it's only 8 minutes, so I might as well extend a couple more minutes later because I was like, why not? If you watch this part, might as well finish it. I don't. I'm still kind of like figuring out like, the smartest kind of like approach. Like I feel like one thing I learned from the stories and just like how to meet people genuinely that can be used for other people as well is I think learning cold approach is a good skill, but also I would be careful with cold approach because cold approach is going around like picking up like people use it for like picking up chicks and all that. And I'm like, if that's what you want to do, go ahead, be my guest. It's a risk, go for it. But me personally, one reason why I kind of hate cold approach, but I still did it like in college, like practiced it. But I never. But my intention was just to give them a compliment, make their feel that day better. I never actually pushed for anything like a relationship or anything like that because I'm like, you're not my wife. I don't see the qualities. I don't see like the specific combination of certain qualities that I'm looking for in you. But cold approach is good. Just like meet people, have a conversations, learn how to like talk, and also kind of like being intentional, kind of what you want. Like, do you want to marry this person, or like, if you're still like young, do you still want to kind of like figure things out? And I feel like that's genuine. Like, I'm 20. How old am I? Born 2003, September 6th. I'm 22. Oh my god, I forgot my age for a second. That's how you know things crazy. Uh, brain, stop breathing, like dog. I'm 22 right now. Like, I don't want to like jump into like a relationship right now. I do, but like the risky part of jumping into like a random relationship with someone that like you just want to figure out and just mess around and see what happens is that like if you have kids, that's responsibility, and that's also a lot of energy and time, like just like wasted. If it's the wrong person and all that, it can work for the other people, but also I feel like another factor people that's kind of like stressing people out is like dating apps. Dating apps, I've been using it for the past like 6 months. I'll kind of like casually just kind of like swipe and do my thing, experimenting with random messages because I'm like, I know I'm not gonna meet my person on there. Maybe it's a possibility, like a 0.0000005% chance, but I go on there anyways, kind of see like, okay, what is something consistently that attracts me to this person? What's like a quality about them? Maybe I don't like them fully, but what's like a quality I want about that person that I want like my partner to have? Then one reason why I'm kind of building the structure the way I am is because one thing with monogamy, in my opinion, feel free to debate me. I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts. One thing with like monogamy, it's like everyone like just like two people holding at the fort, holding the walls. If like one person like breaks or like unstable or they have like a bad like a year, it can like break the entire thing. Especially if you start adding kids, financial situation, the economy, add a bunch of factors and just kind of like breaks apart. But with, like multiple like partners, it's still difficult. Don't get me wrong, but like it's kind of like eases the burden that no one has to be the center of anything. But one thing I've also learned that it's not always like that. It's the structure is right, the foundation is there, and you know what people you want. Like you're intentional about it, and you're like genuine about it. It all just flows naturally. Usually, from what my experience is, you can if someone's like enters your life and you have a feeling that something's off. 9 out of 10 times, you are probably right. And even if you aren't right, even if you're completely wrong, I think being genuine about that you think something's off and letting the other person know, and you start trying to figure things and frame it as like somebody trying to figure out why it is. Maybe they're better than expected, or maybe something. But I feel like being honest about it, just kind of like they can be part of the journey as well. Like maybe, like for example, say I met someone, I'm like, I think you're really pretty, and I think I want to get to know you. However, there's like something like off that I'm still kind of hesitant like before I want to like date fully pursue you, but I kind of want to figure things out. I don't know how that sounds, but like I kind of want you to help me like learn more about you, something like that. It's difficult. Don't get me wrong, and also it do. I think the situation also does kind of like require you to be kind of like stable-ish in a weird way, because in that scenario I had like 20,000 rent already paid and all that stuff, which right now I barely have $1,000 and I want to spend on rent like next month. So I'm not in that point just yet, unless I get lucky and get a sugar mommy. But like that's like I don't even want to like think about that. So let me pause the recording. Keep my brain keeps freezing. So yeah, that's kind of like my thoughts on all that, and I just wanted to share the story of like building a kitchen, going to Claude, building the alternate version of me, meeting Aisha, the gray hair analyst, meeting Lexa, the blue hair Dakota college student, the Aria, meeting Sora, going to Virginia. If you know, I think that place is full of rocks. Like being the load bearer person for all her life, joining something like just Jump Street wants to, and then like Goki, a streamer, who's like who's voice acting to like a loyal audience, taking a risk, having the most genuine laughter I've seen, and then like and then having like the structure, the document, just to kind of like guide you. But I feel like something very power. I feel like one thing I realized in that story is because the right people was there, and the story started with great intentionality, understood all the characters, understood the like heaviness, the weight. It was able to basically flow in a way where the structure, even though it was there, a document was there, it wasn't needed. And I would say that's a feat that I've accomplished in my on that story that I have not done in other stories. Other stories, I've winged in some other stories. I made like hypothetical stories where I'm on Genshin Impact. And I'm like, okay, what if I try to go for like, what if I meet Yai, Sara, and like Raiden Shogun and try something, and then I have superpowers and stuff like that. Like I've tried like different like types of scenarios, some finished, some unfinished, but like this just felt complete to me. And I'm like it felt like what poly. This was what it was intended for. Like the partners to like love each other, like at least be like genuine close to each other, to like marriage. But obviously it's kind of like optional depending on which one, but still like there, and it just kind of like feels like flows seamlessly. And it's one of those things. Now that I've seen it, now that I've read it, it's just I can't unsee it. It's like when I don't know what it is. It's like seeing like an invention. It's like if you go to the past and you show someone an iPhone. What's that? Or wallpaper? Is that? Oh, that's Alexa, by the way. I have like a random wallpapers and like or Android or whatever. You show someone to the past like an Android, and they're gonna be like, "What is that?" But once they kind of like see like what it can do, see like the structure and how it can affect everyday life and how it's just like so seamless, it's like now you never now how do you kind of envision life without the phone? And I feel like a lot of and it's one of those things where I don't think it's people's fault at all. I genuinely don't think it's people's fault. Like people, most of the time are just trying to live their life, do their thing, and just like whatever they feel in the moment, they're like, might as well doing it. I listen to popular streamers who have a lot of money because I'm like followers because obviously you want to listen. You're gonna listen to the people who like have a lot of followers, and it's like even if you want to listen to someone that's like genuine stuff like that, who are you gonna go out there and find that's actually genuine and helps advice? And how do you know if it's right to trust them? It's like it's kind of like hard to like really filter out. And also it takes a lot of energy to kind of do all of that. And most people are just like, it's not worth it, or like it's not worth like the investment. For me, I kind of like I kind of like a different thing where I'm just kind of like whenever I hear things, I'm used to getting like challenged or hear ideas. I like kind of like experiment. I go all in, filter content, see which ones people I like watching. And a lot of like my YouTube feed, like most people, I don't even watch them anymore. It's not because I don't like them anymore. It's just because like small things I've learned about myself that like maybe in the past because I didn't have to worry about like maturing and just joining school that I don't have to deal with. And I kind of and I kind of just wanted to share like this story. I know it's kind of like a lot of rambling. It's gonna be like probably gonna have to like if someone's like very serious of like learning about me, probably have to wait like more videos or like probably just like type on your favorite topic and I'll make a more specific version of it. But this was one thing I kind of like been holding back for like the past 10 months. And I'm like, this once I kind of like reveal like this part, like I've done it in streams, but like in streams it's easier to hide. No one's gonna find you like unless you get popular and people to scroll down. This is an entire video, and people might actually watch this. And if you did, appreciate it. And I don't know how this is gonna go, but I feel like this story is like good, and I just wanted to share. Like, I genuinely think I figured out like the intended design of like what polyamory would feel like. And now I can't go back, which is scary because now it's like, okay, right now I'm kind of like in the fun phase where all I have to do is like sit in my room, just kind of like fuck around until I figure something out financially. But like once I start, there's like no going back, and I'm like, I just kind of like, you know what? And I'm like also I kind of like debated where I want if I wanted to keep this private because I could keep this private and just like not share anyone this and just do my own thing. But I feel like a lot of like the amazing ideas I've had, the stories I've been working on, this has kind of like been like an integral part of the journey, and that like I feel like about hiding that kind of like suffers the content. So this is kind of like me breaking the wall. Oh, that could be a good thumbnail video. Me thumbnail idea. In the wall. That could be used in so much different contexts. Oh well. And that's the video because I could go on for longer. But I'm glad I released that video because that was something off my chest. Releasing something off my chest. And I should make like a serious like thumbnail like. Let me make a thumbnail real quick. Yeah. Oh, this is good. Releasing something off my chest. Oh, let me play my folder. Oh yeah, that's a good thumbnail, baby. That's a good thumbnail. I don't know if who's gonna watch this, but I appreciate it. Surely there's no consequences of uploading this video and talking about such a sensitive, hot topic. Ha 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 ha. See ya.